Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I will show you how to model a 2020 aluminum extrusion. Let's get started. Alright, let's save the empty design first. Give it a name. Click Save. Then we will insert a reference image. I downloaded this image from the seller's website where I bought the aluminum extrusion. Click Insert, Canvas, Insert from my computer, select the image file, click Open, and select the XY plane. Click OK. Now the image is quite small and we would like to see it from the top, so click the top here on the cube and zoom in by scrolling on your mouse. I will use this pen tool here to move it to the center and zoom a little bit more. That's it. Click Escape, and in the browser view on the left side, click the canvas we just loaded and right click and click Calibrate. So we will calibrate the image, so these dimensions mentioned here are matched with the dimensions in the Fusion 360. So click a point and another one where you know the dimensions. I will click these 2 points and this is 20 millimeters. So after you click the second point you can type the distance, 20 millimeters. Now the image is resized and it's too big to view, so we will zoom out. The next step, we want to move the center of the image or the profile to the origin, center of the origin. We have this vertical and horizontal lines for the X and Y axis, and I will use these notches as a reference here while I'm moving the image. In order to move the image, select the canvas again, right click and edit canvas. And here we have this rectangle or the arrows, so grab the rectangle and start moving. I align the notches to the XY axis, release, click OK. So now our image is more or less aligned to the center. Next I will add some construction lines which we will use later. So hit L, select the XY plane, so we will sketch on this plane, and in the palette select construction. So this will be a construction line, it will not be part of the design, or it's part of the design but not the part that we are designing. So click to the center, that will be the starting point, and along the horizontal axis we go for a while, length doesn't matter, click again, so we have a line, and right click or escape to finish. Now we will do the same thing for the vertical axis, so hit L again, center, go vertically down for a while, click again, escape, done. So we have now these 2 construction lines which will help us later. Now I will unselect the construction because now we will start tracing and I need the real lines. I will zoom in a little bit more so it will be easier to trace. And as you can see, there's a repeating pattern here, so it's enough if we trace this line here until this point in the corner. After that we can mirror this, and then we can repeat this pattern in a circular pattern. So let's start drawing the lines, tracing these. So hit L again, make sure that the construction is not selected here. Start from the vertical line and start tracing the corners here. You don't have to be very precise. Later on we will set the dimensions. And this is the last point. Click Escape. And now we have a blue line in our sketch. Blue means that it's not constrained, so that's what we will do next. We will set some dimensions that we know. So not all the dimensions are mentioned on this image, so we know that this is 20, the center hole is 5.5, this distance between this line and this line is 5.5 millimeters, but the rest we don't know, so we will do some guesswork while we are doing it, and it will not be 100% accurate but close enough. If you have a better drawing, of course you can do a more accurate modeling. So click D for the dimension tool and select this line here and the horizontal construction line by clicking on them, and then you see this estimate it 9965, which is quite close to the real 10 millimeters, so we will say this is 10 millimeters. Then we will select this point here, the end point, and the vertical construction line, and say that this is 10 millimeters. As you can see, the end point has moved a bit, and this line became black, so now this is fully constrained until this point. Okay, what else we know? We know this 5.5 here, so I select this line and this line, pull it out and say 5.5 millimeters. Now we constrain this. Then I will zoom in a little bit more and I select this line and this one. Now I believe this is 0.5, but we don't know for sure. I will just type 0.5 millimeters here, and the same for this line and this line, 0.5. Alright, now we set the thickness of this part. This is almost 1.6, so I will call it 1.6. Alright, and we know that this full opening here is 6 millimeters, so I select this one and the construction line, and this must be 3 millimeters. Okay, now is there anything else we know? Probably not. So what I try now to click this one and the construction line here, and this is very close to 6 millimeters, so I believe this is 6 millimeters. Then I try to measure this distance here. This is 0.75. probably it's a bit more than that, so we can put 0.8 millimeters, for example, and then the height of this is 0.45, so it's 0.5 millimeters. Now we are almost exactly on this trace line here. Now this line I don't want to, we could guess again by measuring the distance, but I don't want to constrain yet, because when we mirror this part, so we will have this part assembled here, I want to make a restriction that these two lines are parallel. So I just leave it like this, and I escape from this editing now, click escape, and I will add another construction line between this point and mirror the whole line we drew around this line. So I will make a construction line, so I click this one and I hit L for line tool again, select the center and select this endpoint here. So now we have this dashed construction line here, click escape. Now I select the whole line, so if you double click any of these lines it will select the whole chain. So I click the first one, double click, and then you see the whole line became a darker blue. And I select the mirror tool here, and the objects are already selected, but the mirror line is not selected, so I click here for select mirror line and click on the mirror line. Now everything is set up for mirroring, just click OK, and now we have the other part of this line constructed. I will try to make the these two lines parallel, so I click on this and shift click on this other line, so both lines are selected, right click and say parallel. Now these lines are parallel. Click escape. They are still not fully constrained, so we may try to set this height here. So I select this line and this line, click D like dimension. This is 3.9 millimeters, so we could try. Oh, it says it's over constraining, so let's back off, Command Z, so we select then this one and this one, click D, 2.54, so let it be 2.5 millimeters. But actually it made it narrower, so we could use 2.6 millimeters, then it will be a bit thicker but still parallel. Now we have the whole work fully constrained so far. I will zoom out a little bit and bring it to the center. Now we will use the circular pattern tool here from the create menu to do the other four arms, if you will. So these three things here, which are not done yet. I will double click the line here. I will hold down the shift key and double click this other line that we just made. Now the whole thing that we want to go around is selected, so I will come to the create menu, click the circular pattern tool, and the objects are selected, so I need to select the center point. We want to do this around the origin, so I click that. Now you see that the quantity is 3 by default, so if we will leave it like this, then we will just have 3 arms. I will just make it 4 and click OK. So now we have the whole profile outline, but we still need to make this central circle. I will not model these things here, I don't know what they are called, but in my profile I only see a circular hole, so I will just model that one. In order to model a circle from center point, you can click C, select the origin and click it and pull it out. And when you can see the dimension, you can just type 5.5 as you can see on the image. Click enter. Now we have a 5.5 millimeter circle here. And we are done with the outline of the profile. If I click this area, then it selects the whole area, which is fine. And now I will rotate the view with this orbit tool. So I just click the orbit tool and rotate a bit to have a 3D view of the whole thing. And I click escape from this orbit tool, and I will extrude this selected shape by hitting on the E key. So E, and you can see this arrow showed up here. You can pull it up, and then I will type here, for example, 20 millimeters. Click enter and zoom out a little bit. So now we can use the orbit tool again to go around our extruded profile. We are almost done, but the extrusion, the original extrusion, and even on the drawing you could see that the corner was rounded. So we will use the fillet tool to round the corners. So I select edges, like clicking on them, and shift click the second one, shift click third one, so they turn blue. Now I found that if you use the orbit tool here, sometimes the selection goes away, so I will use the cube and try to rotate the view with the cube and shift click the last edge that I want to be rounded, and then hit the F key for fillet, and then type here 1.5 millimeters. And now if I use the orbit tool, you can look at it and it's nice and rounded, and it follows the original trace line. And we could leave it like this, but I would like to also round these inner edges here. So I will select the edge. Again, I use the cube, so we have 8 of them. And I'm shift clicking these edges. It's really, sometimes it's a bit hard to see what is selecting. Okay, so one more is missing, or actually 2 more. So this one here and that one. Okay, so again I use the cube to see that the right edges are selected. We have 8 selected edges here, and then hit the F key again and I will type 2 millimeters. And now you see that these edges became rounded. Alright, so that's it for the extrusion. Modeling, we can change also the appearance. So I select the body, and actually I like to rename the body, so I will call it extrusion. And then click modify appearance, and from here I look for metal and aluminum, and I like this satin. This is resembling most what I have, so I just drag and drop this on the model. Now you see the rendering is changed a bit, and here at this point you can change the color of this. So if you double click this, you will get this palette here, and I like this to be a little bit more blue. I pull this to this bluish gray, click done, and click escape for getting rid of this appearance panel here. And that's it. So now we have the 3D model of our aluminum extrusion.